Hello and welcome back to You Can Gourmet with white bean hummus with caramelized onions, also known as fasole batuta. Alright, for this dish what I have here is 1 pound of great northern beans which I pre-soaked overnight, 1.5 onions, 5 or so garlic cloves, a half a tablespoon of paprika, and of course salt and pepper to taste. What I've done here is I've made myself an aluminum foil tray. There's no point in dirtying a whole tray for a few cloves of garlic, right? So I trim the ends off, drizzle them with a little bit of vegetable oil, and we'll throw them in the oven at 375 for about 15 minutes or so until golden brown, at which point we'll pull them out and we'll slide them out of that skin. And by this point we all know the drill, right? Preheat the saute pan, about a tablespoon or so of vegetable oil, and I went ahead and thinly sliced my onions, and we're going to work these guys until they turn nice golden brown. Remember, brown equals flavor, so that's the color we're going for. At this point, I went ahead and kept working the onions to make sure nothing's sticking. This is where you'd want to adjust your temperature, making sure it's not too high and certainly not too low. Go ahead and hit it with some salt and pepper. That salt will also extract a lot of that moisture out. And something winky happened with my camera here. It went from very fast to very slow. But like I told you guys, I'm still learning this, so just bear with me. Now with the camera back on track, let's get to these onions. I'm going to give these guys a quick toss, make sure nothing's burning or sticking to the bottom. Wipe down your stove or your workstation, keep everything tidy. And if you don't feel comfortable with tossing the onions, feel free to use your spoon or spatula, whatever you've got. You don't have to do this. This is just a little more convenient for me. Now that the onions are the color I wanted, I went ahead and threw in some simple syrup to make the onions just a little bit sweeter. And I'll also throw in some paprika, and that'll give us a depth of color as well. Toss this around, make sure it's all incorporated, and we'll go from there. Now I guess one thing I should have mentioned is the whole time I was doing all my prep work, I had my beans on a back burner coming up to a gentle boil on low heat. I didn't want to bring them to a rapid, vigorous boil because I don't want the beans to pop. And keep in mind they were pre-soaked overnight, and there's a couple of benefits to that. One being it reduces your cooking time by about 25%, but the other part of it, it also helps with the digestion process. And what a perfect time for my camera to go back to slow motion to really drive home that gentle boil effect. And now that our beans are cooked to a very soft texture, I went ahead and threw them into my favorite kitchen toy, which is a food processor. You notice the golden brown garlic that we've skinned. Throw in a pinch of salt, pepper, and we're going to go ahead and let this go. Now the difference between a food processor and a blender, a food processor requires little to no liquid, whereas a blender would require a lot more. Either way, we have to add some form of liquid to liquefy the beans. One of the options we have is to use the water that the beans boiled in. What I decided to do was put a little bit of vegetable oil, and I added a little bit of apple cider vinegar as well. I thought it needed a little more acidity at this point. And even with all that, we'll go ahead and give it a mix, and I realized it still needed a little bit more liquid. So another option I have is, again, now we're just building flavor. I decided to use some of the liquid that was draining from those onions. Oh my, that is absolutely delicious, and it helps again with that depth of color as well. You see here how you just get creative and you look around and see what you can use, what you have, what you don't have. I realized that it still wasn't quite where I wanted it yet, so back into the food processor we go, thin it out a little bit more, let it work, and we're really going for a nice, thin, again, paste-like consistency. Eureka! We got it. Now that I got it to the consistency I was looking for, I went ahead and spooned it onto a serving platter and I built it up a little bit. I topped it with the caramelized onions and some freshly chopped parsley, and that's it. Now if yours comes out a little soft, don't worry, it'll firm up as it sits. However, this one was ready to go. Serve it with some toast or a freshly sliced baguette, and I promise even the most discerning vegetarian will appreciate it. And it's a Lent-friendly dish, which it should be as its origin. But there you go, we just gourmeted beans. Wait, beans? Really? Oh yeah, beans. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up and a like, subscribe. If you enjoy these videos, I'll keep making them. Remember, you can gourmet.